On Monday from the number 4 reactor building. It's the first step Tokyo Electric Power Company will take toward decommissioning the crippled plant.
We decided to start removing fuel on November 18th.
The building contains more than 1,500 units of fuel rods. Most of them are used and highly radioactive. The fuel is stored in a pool of water which contains the radioactive particles. TEPCO workers will remove it and place it in radiation-proof containers. They'll then transfer them to another location on the plant's premises. The building was badly damaged by a hydrogen explosion in March 2011. So engineers built a steel structure equipped with a crane that will be used to remove the containers. They say the structure can resist earthquakes as strong as the one on March 11. TEPCO officials will start with the unused fuel as they consider it less difficult to handle. They plan to remove the remainder by the end of 2014. The next step will be to remove fuel from the other 3 reactor buildings.
As workers proceed with the decommissioning of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, they're faced with a familiar problem: disposing of highly radioactive waste. Some Japanese lawmakers are setting up a group to tackle that issue and find a long-term solution to the country's nuclear waste dilemma. The move comes after former Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi called on Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to promptly end Japan's dependence on nuclear power. Koizumi cited difficulties associated with constructing disposal sites for highly radioactive waste. The new group will include the governing Liberal Democrats, members of ruling coalition partner New Kometo, and the opposition Democrats. The members plan to study how other countries manage the radioactive waste. They'll discuss a wide range of other issues, including the possibility of developing new technology. They also plan to look into ways to decide where disposal sites will be located.
Okay, well, you say there's no solution to the waste, but there is a solution to the waste, and the solution to the waste is to just leave it exactly where it is and to have somebody look at it for a million years, you know. So they just have to have all these zombies who are there at the moment sitting there doing nothing, who are going to just have to sit there, and their children are going to sit there, and their children's children and so on, looking at the waste and making sure that it doesn't leak out of the tanks. And if it starts to look like it's going to leak out of the tanks, they build another tank around that tank, and then they build another tank around the tank that they built around that tank, and so on, you know, to infinity. And that is a solution to the waste, because then the waste will just stay where it is now, and it won't get any worse. And if they make more waste, they'll have to put it inside that tank and leave it there. And as far as contaminated land is concerned, and places like Sellafield and all that, they'll just have to put a fence around it and say, this is contaminated land, do not enter. And so that's the best we can do. I mean, it doesn't help to put it down the hole in the ground. I mean, you may as well put it somewhere where you can keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't escape. So that's the solution.
And why not put a hole in the ground?
Ah, well, because then if something goes wrong, you can't do anything about it. That's the point.
And what could go wrong there?
Oh, God, well, loads of things could go wrong. I mean, the main thing that would go wrong is that it's a hole in the ground is not a secured depository, you know? I mean, you put it into a hole in the ground, and then there's a crack in the hole in the ground, or maybe there's an earthquake, or maybe there's a fault that you didn't know about, or maybe there's some water movement that changes over a period of time. And we're talking geological timescale, so, you know, just about everywhere where they've suggested putting it in a hole in the ground has had a geological fault occurring, you know, in the last 1,000 years. Never mind about, you know, the next million years or whatever it is it has for the half-life of these uraniums and plutoniums. So you can't actually guarantee that if you put it in a hole in the ground, something won't go wrong. And you can't pull it out of the hole in the ground. That's the point. I mean, the Forsmark idea is not one in which they put it down in the hole in the ground and then they can take it out if something goes wrong. They can't. They just pop it down and pop the next one down and pop the next one down and so on and send it all down there, and then they seal it all up. Well, if something goes wrong, then they can't do anything. Whereas if it's where it is at the moment, at Sellafield or wherever it is, above ground or in some kind of big hangar or big kind of area where they kind of look at it, then they can look at it. And if something goes wrong, they've got all their detectors and their Geiger counters and whatnot, then they can just repackage it and put something around it.
But they have to sit there.
Yeah, they have to sit there forever. Absolutely, yeah, sure. Well, it serves them right, isn't it? They shouldn't have made it in the first place. And I've no doubt they'll pay them a lot of money for sitting there. So yeah, they can sit there. I mean, maybe they should have special uniforms, like, you know, guard of the nuclear waste, and they could have like special kind of green uniforms with special badges, like Superman or something, you know. That make them feel good. I've always thought it quite good to have special uniforms. In all the science fiction stories they did special uniforms, you know. So you could say, what's your daddy do? Oh, he's a guard of the nuclear waste. Oh, no. What a useful job, George. Yes, it is, isn't it?
Earlier, we talked exclusively to members of the decontamination team working at Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan. They've repeated earlier claims of bad management and lack of proper training, which they say is rendering the cleanup operation ineffective.
現場の顔だから。
Two of the decontamination workers at Fukushima. They've taken a big risk being interviewed about their daily work. They say workers received no detailed training before starting the job and no advice. They're part of a team charged with removing radioactive pollution from residential areas. Polluted material is gathered in special plastic bags. But the workers say they were given no information on how to handle the material. Back in January, Japan's Asahi Shimbun newspaper reported that potentially contaminated soil, water and debris were being dumped into the environment instead of using proper storage facilities.
Sometimes we don't have enough plastic bags, so we find a place and dig a pit and throw all of the polluted soil into it before covering it up.
The level of radioactivity in the air close to the storage areas has been found to be 0.311 microsieverts per hour. That's about 2.7 millisieverts for a whole year. That surpasses Japan's official post-decontamination target of 1 millisievert per year. In this residential area, nearly 2.5 microsieverts per hour has been detected. The cause is found to be unsealed bags holding pollutants. The workers say they fear for their own safety and that of the whole team.
I used to have no idea if the water we used to wash our hands was polluted. I used to wash my hands before eating. I'm now wondering how much radioactive substances have gone into my body. Now I know the truth. I don't dare to wash my hands, even after using the toilet. The truth is astonishing.
The Japanese government pays an 11,700 yen daily wage, along with a 10,000 yen risk compensation package. But in reality that's been reduced by nearly 30%, with some contractors withholding part of the salaries for various reasons. The number of contractors on site varies from 2 to 8. Some contractors have been accused of operating like gangsters, keeping profits for themselves. There's strict regulation on media coverage of decontamination work in Fukushima. These revelations come at a time when Japan is trying to play down bad PR amid continuing reports of radiation leaks. Matt Stuttard, CCTV.
After Chernobyl we finally hear all kinds of cancer went up the next year. Hard to interpret, says OPCS. Can't understand it, well here is a guess. Low-level isotopes from the Ukraine drifted to Wales on the wind and the rain. Rainfall is higher in Bangor than Kent. Cancer in Wales is up 30%. We're breathing strontium, locking it into the structure of cellular DNA. And each beat a decay in an occasional, rather mutational way. Kills us. Even new Labour can see what it means. Radioisotopes alter your genes. Ghosts of dead babies will give them no rest till the dosimetry's been reassessed. Wombling, stromboling, Bangor to Kent, telling the news of the second event. Telling the story all and two scenes. Radioisotopes alter your genes. nuclear establishment, castle of lies. Children are dying in front of your eyes. Born with no limbs, with 2 heads or no brain. Born to a life of incurable pain. Nuclear subsidies victims will pay, while you take a pension and tiptoe away. Don't reassure us, 'cause we always knew yours was a story too slick to be true. We're breathing strontium, locking it into the structure of cellular DNA, and each should be to decay in an occasional, rather mutational way. Kills us. Nobody's hiding these nuclear crooks. Government stooges aren't cooking the books. Only the mothers are guilty of crimes, bearing their children in nuclear times. Radioisotopes float around free, up in the atmosphere, up near the sea. So many diseases genetically linked. Strontium wombs will soon be extinct, 'cause we're breathing strontium, locking it into the structure of cellular DNA, and each should be to decay in an occasional, rather mutational way. Kills us.
I'm watching bankers starve the world, and I'm watching illegal and unjust wars. I'm watching nuclear meltdowns and pollution, while the vast majority continue to snore. I'm watching the surveillance state be built, and I'm watching the march to World War III. I'm watching the sheep led to the slaughter, while we're sitting in front of the propaganda machine. Welcome to my alternate reality. Am I the only one taking this seriously? 'Cause I'm on this ball with its finger on self-destruct. But Jesus says blood is the only hope I've got. I'm watching perversions all over the net. Actually I'm not, 'cause I don't wanna see. I'm watching a charade of politicians being controlled.
One of the things that we have been involved in is solidarity with brothers and sisters in Japan, not only people from Fukushima, but people all over Japan. And one of the things that the Japanese government did in order to share the pain, if you want, is they were forcing all the prefectures or state governments of Japan to burn nuclear waste rubble. And they said, this is how we're going to share the responsibility for Fukushima, by burning the nuclear waste rubble in every prefecture in Japan. And in Osaka, a professor, a committee, and others began to organize to leaflet and let the people know that this was horrendous. They should not be burning nuclear waste in Japan. And as a result of that activity, Professor Shimoji, who's a professor in Japan and also is president of his union local, actually, took up a fight, organized, got literature out, and for that he was arrested and put in jail for 21 days. Not only himself, but other people. So we're here to bring him here to the United States to let him explain to the American people what he is trying to tell the Japanese people and why this repression of him and others has to end. So welcome, Professor Shimoji. I think we should give him a standing ovation, really. So let's get up and thank you very much.
本日はこの場で話す機会をいただきましてどうもありがとうございます。
So I would like to point out two sides of the ongoing catastrophe of Fukushima. And to be honest, I myself am very scared because the accident is not under control, despite the fact that our government says it is under control. I'm scared of the chain reaction because it is not only ongoing at the Fukushima Daiichi, but there is also Fukushima Daini, and there is a Tokai reactor in Ibaraki, the oldest one, and Onagawa in Miyagi. And there's such a risk and possibility of chain reactions because 54 nuclear power plants are built in a really small place, that is Japan. So my first point is that despite the fact that the chain reaction, the risk for a chain reaction has been reduced compared to the 2 years ago, but it is still there. And the second point is that we have been releasing contaminated water, and as a citizen and citizen of Japan, as a Japanese person, I feel so bad about this and I apologize to all of you. So I would say the first of my concern is the contamination, ongoing contamination and further risk. But the second thing is that Japanese government doesn't have neither intention or the skill to solve the problem. And the evidence is that we decided to invite Olympics in 2020. It's a nightmare. So I would like to talk about the sabotage of the Japanese government, and you see that the radioactive materials are like all spread. And as I also have been a part of the movement against the incineration of radioactive rubbles. And I thank for the people who are from California. I saw you protesting against the incineration of radioactive materials here too. So there are two parts. I would say that we are trained to get used to be exposed to low-level radiation to the higher through this incineration of highly radioactive rubbles. And when we get used to it, these ashes, highly radioactive ashes, will be used as a part of like cement. So it's going to be used for buildings, and it's called eco-cement, which is such a nightmare, and it involves like every corporations in Japan and also multinational companies, and all these. And the other thing is that, as other speaker has been talking about, that food contamination is really high, and highly radiated food are eaten and cooked in the school meals, so children are exposed to the radiation internally. And there are also the movements. The Japanese government has been, also the TEPCO and also the corporation has been spreading radioactive materials and to the low-level radiation, so we're getting used to the low-level radiation. That's what my government is doing directly, but indirectly when we look at the multinational or international level, the multinational pro-nukes lobbies are getting in. For example, IAEA has been in Japan, made an office and headquarters, and also they're taking over the health, health research. So they gather all the information and they keep telling lies and they won't release the information to us. So these policies are protested, the people are protesting, people have been protesting against these violent policies, but the state has been using violence to suppress us. And last year in December, I was detained for doing nothing for 20 days. And this has been really fascist of Japanese government, that we are, for those of us, like they're trying to pass this law against those activists or anybody who is trying to reach to the information that is not really convenient for the government or corporations. So the activists or people will be punished by accessing or revealing whatever that is inconvenient. So what I would like to share is not only about the nuclear accident, but historically and also politically, this is such a dangerous situation for Japan and other countries, because Japan doesn't seem to have any self-control. And it reminds us about the situation just before the World War II. I would like to finish here, but if you have any questions, I would love to take your questions, and please talk to me. 3 brief questions, just particular for him, if you have any. Mary Beth? It is probably you're talking about those people who live in Fukushima who put their soil, like radioactive soil, on their own because there's no government or municipal care of that. So they put the radioactive materials or the soil into bags and they put on the corner of their garden. So the next door neighbor will be very mad about it. So the Fukushima, people are accountable for the so-called cleanup, but it's not cleanup. It's just making the radioactive morass situation rather than, the real cleanup. Does that answer your question?
Can you talk about the former Prime Minister Abe's mentor, Koizumi, and coming out to be anti-nuclear, please?
Koizumi Junichi. My understanding about the present Prime Minister Abe is that he's pro-nukes, although his wife is anti-nukes, although I don't hear anything about what she does. And going back to Koizumi, the the Prime Minister, certainly turned against the nukes. He said that he doesn't need nuclear power anymore. Japan should shut down all the things. But my perspective is that because his son, Koizumi Shinjiro, is now he's one of the members in the parliament, and he's kind of taking a great position and in charge of the reconstruction and recovery of Fukushima. So just to protect his son, probably, the Koizumi Junichiro is saying that, I'm against nuclear power, but it's just for mesmerizing us to get votes. Could you say it again?
How are the people of Japan taking to the oppressive and suppressive actions of the government in reaction to this?
I have to talk a little bit about the background. So the Japanese government is really oppressive, and their strategy is really suppressive. Strategy is really different. For example, they do two things, attack those people who are important for organizing. So by taking those small number of people, they're going to be able to decrease the power of organizing, and at the same time they're going to spread the information and attacking people like Koreans and marginalized minorities, and also people who could be in the media, who could be portrayed as so-called terrorists or people who are already in activists, so the major people or the normal people cannot sympathize with them. So these people are specifically targeted. And also, it is normal for Japan to detain somebody without having anything decided on this person, but this person could be detained for at least half a year to a year just before they get to the court. And that's the normal situation in Japan. So our system for human rights is really obsolete. There's no human rights. So the other problem is that, those people who are not involved in the activism, or those people are not educated about our criminal justice system or criminal injustice system. So, I was arrested, and my friends who know about this issue have been arguing and doing campaigns to raise awareness about how this criminal law system is in Japan. This is not normal of us, but when I was detained for 20 days, I wrote letters and reports from the inside of the jail, and also I did support for my friends who were being arrested, and we did performance including live rock bands, and I put rainbow wigs and stuff and made it into a performance. But this kind of thing doesn't happen in Japan, really.
そうですね。ありがとうございます。そうですね。逮捕に
Ask Chizu Hamada and No Nukes Action Committee for my letter. I have written letters to my students about my arrest, and it's translated into English, so you can have an access to that. Thank you for listening.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diane, and today is November 17th, 2013, and here are your news updates for today. Alrighty then, you could probably hear my aquarium bubbling in the background. That's my fish breathing right now, so I don't want to turn that off. Hear the bubbles going. Sounds real loud tonight. Alright, breaking news, breakingnews.com. U.S. Midwest severe weather threat, November 17th, 2013. That was about 3 hours ago. Heads up, 1 dead in small plane crash at Hooks Airport in Harris County, Texas. Another plane crash, see? Boeing 737 that crashed in central Russia on Sunday, killing 50, was trying to land in gusty wind. That was 3 hours ago. Oh, that's another one. Wow. Heads up. Something's going on. Planes, trains, vehicles. I don't know if it's computers in them, but heads up. There's been a lot of them lately. Alright. Death toll from floods in South Central Vietnam rises to 31, some 100,000 homes inundated. Wow, coming out of WSJ 2 hours ago. Alright, let's see. Why can't I get this to go up? Here we go. I really don't like the new format for breaking news. Alrighty. About 59,000 customers throughout Ontario currently without power, Hydro One reports at CP24 2 hours ago. Heads up. Storms, wind leaves 392,000 without power across Michigan, coming out of Freep 1 hour ago. Heads up. I guess a lot of people without power in Michigan now. Alrighty. And also an hour ago, being reported. Colorado mine explosion, November 2013. Death toll from Midwest storms rises to 6, coming out of NBC News 50 minutes ago. Alrighty then. Moving on. The Extinction Protocol 2012 and beyond. Scientists find new volcano rumbling under Antarctica ice. 1,370 tremors. It may blow or it may not. We don't know. In quotes. Day of death. 50 tornadoes tear through U.S. Midwest, leaving 5 dead. Now it's up to 6, though. Powerful 7.8 magnitude earthquake strikes Scotia Sea. They've had more than one earthquake out there. Sun magnetic field will flip upside down within weeks, says NASA. Also, 5.5 magnitude earthquake shakes Tokyo, halts trains near spray as Fukushima decommissioning reaches critical stage. So they already had a 5.5 earthquake and they're getting ready to take the fuel rods out. They're going to do it. It's already Monday over there, so they're starting now. Alright, moving on. The Watchers watching the world, the evolution of Mars. I'll try to capture that for you. It's actually from NASA, and it's showing Mars with an atmosphere and saying it used to have an atmosphere and water, and then artists they computer generated what it used to look like. Alright. Another paroxysmal eruptive episode at Etna Southeast Crater, 16th this year. Tropical Cyclone Podul triggers record flooding in Vietnam. Massive and shallow magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck near South Orkney Island, Scotia Sea. Excuse me. Solar activity at moderate levels today, 2 M-class solar flares. Alright, moving on. I'm going to play a lot on Fukushima, but I don't want you to get burned out on it. But that way you guys will all be an expert by the time I get done with you. How's that one? Alrighty then. Ooh, the hair looks terrible. Here we go. There it is. Let's go into E&E News, Energy News. Japan, Fukushima. Former TEPCO engineer. Fukushima meltdown was ignited by quake, not tsunami. Serious damage caused reactor to lose coolant. Lies will likely be exposed before long. Expert, I think all units sustained damage from quake. Now revealed there's 80 damaged spent fuel assemblies leaking radioactive material in Fukushima storage pools. Wow, there's 80 damaged spent fuel assemblies. And I think they weigh, what, 600 pounds each? Something weird like that. Kyoto. Removal attempt at Unit 4 starts later today. Japan nuclear officials nervous as one slip could result in monumental chain reaction. Weird sounds today. Can you hear it? What is that? Maybe it's a jet. I don't know if you can hear it. There's like a rumbling. Alrighty then. Okay. Let's see if there's anything U.S.-Canada. I don't know what that was. Hope it's not a sinkhole. Uh-oh. Catch it live on my show as I run out the door and grab the pads. Alright. Strange rumbling. Alright, that kind of blew my mind for a second. Train of thought. Alrighty then, let's check U.S.-Canada. Well, I guess not. I guess it went down. Alrighty then, so get ready for Monday and be safe, be prepared for anything. Looks like a lot of power outages are starting to happen from storms or whatever. Just be ready. Make sure, see if you can get one of them little crank ones that's like a flashlight. Someone was showing me that today. They were all happy. They found some kind of old little flashlight and they wound it up and said, look, I'll never need batteries. And they were winding it and the light came on. Get one of those, and also one that's a radio. You can get that in like a marine place, you know, like a boat shop, or you know, other places too. So get yourself some cranked stuff so that you can maybe recharge your cell phone too that way. Or like on Gilkins Island, you get on a bike and put a belt to a little generator and just charge your stuff that way. Alrighty then, take care, be prepared for anything. I'll see you again on the flip side. Stay tuned.
Here we go again, folks. Comet Ison's breaking up. A lot of people don't want to realize that, but if you listen to this robot read this to you, you'll understand.
Comet Ison outburst continues. The abrupt brightening of Comet Ison on November 14th has pushed the comet into the range of naked eye visibility. Dark sky observers around the world report seeing it with their unaided eyes on the morning of November 15th. To the human eye, Ison is just a faint smudge of magnitude plus 5.5. Backyard telescopes are revealing much more. The effects of the outburst have propagated into the comet suddenly right its tail, as shown in this image taken on the morning of November 15th by Damian Peach. It's hard to believe this is the same comet I photographed on November 10th, says Peach. Now that Ison has experienced an outburst, the show has really begun. The increase in brightness and emergence of multiple gaseous streamers could be caused by fresh veins of ice opening up in the comet's nucleus. Rapid vaporization of ice by solar heat is a surefire way to boost a comet's visibility. But, as NASA's Comet Ison observing campaign states, we have no idea. The comet's nucleus is hidden from view by a hazy green atmosphere, so events in the interior remain a mystery. I have a strong suspicion that this is Comet Linear C1999S4 all over again, says Mark Kitcher of the ESA's European Space Astronomy Center in Madrid. In the year 2000, Kitcher and other astronomers monitored Comet Linear as it disintegrated en route to the Sun.
Y'all listen to this part one more time. I'm going to play it twice for you so you get what I'm trying to tell you.
In the year 2000, Kitcher and other astronomers monitored Comet Linear as it disintegrated en route to the Sun. The sudden appearance of Ison's gas tail, the increasing fasciness of its coma, and now the sudden outburst all remind me of C1999S4 just before it broke apart. To reiterate, no one knows what is happening to Comet Ison. This could be the comet's death throes or just the first of many brightening events the comet experiences as it plunges toward the Sun for a close encounter on Thanksgiving Day, November 28th. Monitoring is encouraged. Comet Ison rises in the east just before the Sun. Amateur astronomers, if you have a go-to telescope, enter these coordinates. Dates of special interest include November 17th and 18th, when the comet will pass the bright star Spica, making Ison extra easy to find.
It'll never make it around the Sun. Get it? Much love.
Hi everybody, today is November 16th, 2013, Comet Ison update. Reports of naked eye sightings of Comet Ison are coming in from around the world. Experienced observers put the comet's magnitude at a plus of 5.5 on November 16th. This means it is now fully 10 times brighter than it was 3 days ago before the outburst. To the naked eye, Ison appears as a faint smudge of pale green light low in the pre-dawn sky. The view through a telescope is more dramatic. The comet's tail has become a riotous crowd of gaseous streams stretching more than 3.5 degrees across the sky. Amateur astronomer Waldemar's group has sent this picture from Kehler, Austin, Germany. And it's a pretty dramatic photo. The tail is so long he couldn't fit the whole thing in field of view. How long is it? Comet Ison's tail extends more than 8 million kilometers behind the comet's nucleus. For comparison, that's 21 times the distance between Earth and the Moon. Because so much gas and dust is spewing from the comet's core, it is impossible to see clearly what caused Comet Ison's outburst on November 13th, 14th. One possibility is that fresh veins of ice are opening up in the comet's nucleus, vaporizing furiously as Ison approaches the Sun. Another possibility is that the nucleus has completely fragmented. If so, it would be still several days before we know for sure, says Carl Badams, an astronomer with NASA's Comet Ison's observing campaign. When comet nuclei fall apart, it's not like a shrapnel-laden explosion. Instead, the chunks slowly drift apart at slightly different speeds. Given that Ison's nucleus is shrouded in such a tremendous volume of light-scattering dust and gas right now, it will be almost impossible to determine this for at least a few days, and perhaps not until the comet reaches the field of view of NASA's Stereo HI-1A instrument on November 21st, 2013. We will have to wait for the chunks to drift apart a significant distance, assuming that they don't crumble first. In short, no one knows for sure what is happening to Comet Ison. This could be the comet's death throes, or just the first of many brightening events the comet experiences as it plunges towards the sun for a close encounter on Thanksgiving Day, November 28th. Monitoring is encouraged. Comet Ison rises in the east just before the sun. Amateur astronomers, if you have a go-to telescope, enter these coordinates. Dates of special interest include November 17th and 18th, when the comet will pass the bright star Spica, making Ison extra easy to find. And they have some sky maps for the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th, and 19th. Alright, bookmark my site. I'll keep you up to date. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you.